Hello everyone and welcome to It's Only Cooking and welcome to my kitchen. It's not a sound studio. My name is John Hruska. It's Hruska with an H. Some people say that's the only thing silent in me is the H. Today we're going to do a dish that probably you've had at a restaurant. Some of you may not have tried it in your home because you think it may be complicated and there are some steps to it. But a lot of people don't want to have a meat lasagna. So today we're going to have eggplant lasagna. So first, as we always do, we start with our mise en place. That's so that we have everything in place that we're going to need to do this dish. So what we have over here, we have the spinach, which is going to be part of the sauce that goes in with the ricotta cheese and some Parmesan cheese. Of course, we have the eggplant, mushrooms for the marinara sauce, and our other little spices and seasoning we're going to need. One of the things you always want to have, of course, is your little garbage dish bowl. So the dish calls for the eggplant to be about a ½ inch, 3/4 of an inch thick. So you want to, of course, move the top and the bottom. Probably take a little bit of this curved side because curved sides don't lay too flat. And I like to use this knife that's this long because obviously it's a big eggplant. You can use any kind of knife you want, but you want to try to make them as straight as you can, obviously. So we're going to try and get them about that thick. Again, we're not building a spaceship, it's only cooking, so we'll just keep it the best and easiest and simplest we can do it. So I think we've got about enough from there. Maybe we can get one more piece off of this. All right, these two pieces, we're not going to use them. So we got a handful here, and what we have to do to each of these, I'll pull out my tricky little pan here. I'll put these on. This is just a pan we're going to... Water's our enemy here. And eggplant has a lot of water. And you're going to have soaking wet eggplant Parmesan if you leave the water in it. So while we roast, it's going to take out a little bit of it. You want to give it a head start so that it has a fighting chance when you go to roast it. So we're going to make a few more pieces of this. Now we've got a lot of, these are our noodles basically. These are going to be our noodles and they're going to substitute for that in terms of the lasagna dish because some people are trying to cut their carbs a little bit. So what this does is this salt, and you just kind of sprinkle a little on, it pulls the water out. We're just going to let them sit for a little bit. And when we come back to it, you'll see that they're already starting to have the water come out of the eggplant. So let's put a little more in there. We're going to wipe this off so it shouldn't be too salty when we do the actual olive oil and salt and peppering. So. Okay, now we've let these sit for, let's call it 15-20 minutes. You'll know because you'll see the moisture. And you just want to dab that off because you're going to put oil on it next. And what doesn't go with water? Oil. So we want to just dab it off. That'll get most of that salt off there too. You can see that it's coming off here, pulling off all that moisture, because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to place it and get oil on it. So here's how we're going to do that. Got a barbecue brush for lack of a better term, and we're just going to paint away here, and that's going to help this roast in the oven. We've got the oven preheated right now to 400 degrees, and that's what we're going to roast these at. So then we're going to take and put a high level of salt because everything tastes better with a little bit of salt on it, and that seasons it a little bit. You don't need a lot, just a couple little pinches between your finger and grind it out on there. And then take a little pepper. You can use any kind of pepper you want. I don't want to use big fresh cracked pepper. We'll just use some finely ground. So then we're going to place these over on the pan they're going in. You can just put this on a greased pan. I'm a big parchment paper guy. It's a ridiculously expensive way to do it, but that's just how I do it. So, okay. Now that that's ready, we'll do the other side. And if you need more oil, just get more oil. It's only cooking. We're not building the Eiffel Tower here. So let's just get this done, and a little more salt on this side. Not a lot. It's going to be plenty salty when you get the tomato sauce and everything else out in the ricotta, which has a little saltiness to it, but the Parmesan definitely has a little saltiness to it and a little nutty flavor. Go nice and high. That spreads it out nice. And then we're going to take this and put this in the oven at 400 degrees for, let's call it, about 20 to 25 minutes. So we'll set a timer on that. So we'll put that at 25 minutes. It should be roasted well by then. Okay, while that's in, we're going to start making the other components of the dish. Of course, what you're going to need to have is you're going to need to have a ricotta sauce, if you will. It's made with a couple of components, really basic. It's made with the ricotta cheese, spinach. You can use frozen spinach. What is it in, a 10-ounce package, I think? I like the fresh spinach. Chop it up, chop it up in there and put it in there. I just think it tastes better. But buy frozen. But here's the thing: if you're going to use frozen, spinach, you're going to have to put it into a maybe like a tea towel or something like that, and you're going to have to squeeze the water out of it, because when you thaw it is going to have a lot of water. So now you beat the egg just because you want to have a good, makes it easier to mix. I mean, you can throw it in there without doing it. This is just easier to mix. We're going to take a normal full, another full recipe of this would call for the entire package of this. What is this, 14, 15 ounces, 15, 16 ounces. We're making a half batch, so we're only going to go about half the ricotta here. Again, carefully measured, as you saw there. I might have a little more, but it's only cooking. And then we'll put the Parmesan in there. This is, the dish calls for a half a cup of Parmesan cheese. Parmesan in the ricotta, and then some Parmesan mixed with the mozzarella at the end on top. So we're going to put, let's put a good amount in there, about half. I've got the rest of it. I'm going to grind up later. We throw that in. We're going to throw the egg in. And then we're going to get our spinach. We don't need to have all this. I just have a lot of other things I'm going to cook, so I got a lot of it. We're going to take this spinach and we're just going to cut it up just so it's in a little bit more manageable bite-sized pieces. Nothing's measured, nothing real fancy here. I grabbed, what, a handful? If you have a smaller hand, grab 2 handfuls. If you like more spinach, grab more. If you don't like spinach, you don't have to put any spinach in. That's the good part about this. You can do a lot of things any way you want to do them, and it's just fine. So we're going to take this, give this a little whip just to make it a little easier to incorporate the spinach in there. And then we're going to drop about half in there so it makes it easier. And we just whip it up. Put a little more in there. Whip it up. Not only does this give it good flavor with the spinach in there, it also gives it a little more color, because you don't have a lot of things going on there except red sauce and the eggplant. So you want to give it some kind of nice color in the ricotta portion of it. So we're going to make this part first, then we're going to make the sauce. Now, as you can see probably on my mise en place when we went through that, I have a jar of marinara sauce. If you want to make your own marinara sauce, make your own marinara sauce. It's your recipe. You're cooking it. It's whatever you like to do. Some people want to do this pretty quick. As it is, you already had to do a couple extra steps with the eggplant. So we're trying to make it as simple as possible. Okay, that's your ricotta. You can set that aside. That's in good shape. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to go back here and we're going to first get the water out of these mushrooms. Remember, water's our enemy. In lasagna, you don't want to have water floating on the bottom, or you want to minimize as much as you can. One other note that goes in there is we're going to put some dried oregano. You can use fresh if you want. Just remember, if we're calling for dried oregano. If you use fresh, you need to put a little more than you do with dried, because dried is a little stronger. But here's the other thing. This calls for 2 cloves, 3 cloves, whatever it is. Okay, so how big's a clove? This is a clove, and that's a clove. How much is enough? It's up to you. You're cooking. You can do as much as you want. So you just want to put in there an amount that you like the smell, you like the taste, and that's how you do it. Little hint with using garlic, you probably know this, but stainless steel which is your faucets are usually made of. So when you're washing your hands after you've done it, you know, they still smell like garlic. If you just run your hands on your faucet a little bit, believe it or not, the garlic smell will be gone from your fingers. It's pretty amazing. So let's get back to the stove and get these mushrooms going. Okay, we're going to get the pan that we're going to saute the mushrooms in going. Now, I know a lot of people have had stainless steel pans and they don't use them. I've come to really love my stainless steel pans, especially when you're trying to saute or you're trying to cook a steak or brown chicken meat. Anything you're trying to do, I've found that these actually work better than nonstick. The other reason I'm using stainless steel rather than my carbon steel frying pan. My carbon steel frying pan, if you know, it's just like cast iron. You have to season it. And mine is still in the process of getting a full good seasoning on it, and the acid in the tomatoes will set me back a little bit. So I'm not going to do that. And the cast iron's just heavy, you know, and I'm going to be pulling this over when I start assembling the dish. So get this a little bit hot. I'm going to check, see where I'm at here. We're at 135. I want to get that a little hotter before I put oil in it. And we don't want to do this. We're not trying to fry the onions. We just want to saute them, so we don't want to get it too hot. Okay, now when it gets pretty close, we want to put a little oil in there. Again, about a tablespoon, just to give the mushrooms something so they don't stick. And this usually calls for about 16 ounces of mushrooms. You can use Bella. I'm just using white mushrooms. They were easy. They were there at the store. That's what I got. So we're going to put in, I don't know. This is probably, in here I got probably 10 ounces. I'm going to put about the bottom of the pan full. And that should be plenty because that's going to fill up the space and everything in the sauce. And that's really what this is for. This is to give a nice flavor in the sauce. It goes well with the eggplant, so it gives a good flavor. The only other thing we're really going to add in this, besides the marinara sauce, is garlic and a little bit of dried oregano. That's all that's going in there. So this is a pretty crucial point. And you can't do anything else until these mushrooms are ready. They're just like onions in the way that as soon as you add something else, all your reduction and all your evaporation of water out of them, which is what you're trying to do with onions as well, is over. You're not going to get any more of that, any more of that process. It stops it. You've spent all that time trying to get water out. Well, if you're going to put something in, you want it to be broth, or you want it to be wine, or something of that nature. So this takes a little while, probably about, I don't know, 7 minutes or so. And near the end of it, we're going to carefully add a little bit more salt and pepper. Not a lot. We're not going to get nuts and get crazy. We're just going to add a little bit more. Okay, these mushrooms are getting to look pretty good. You can see all the moisture on these mushrooms, and so that's the water is starting to leave these mushrooms, and they're even starting to get a little bit of the oil of the pan is just giving them a good fragrance. The mushrooms are starting to get to a point where they're really going to be a nice blend with that eggplant. Okay, we're at about a point I can add the salt and pepper. Again, gentle. You don't need too much. You don't need too much at all. And then I'll use this, because I think I can control that better with a couple little clicks on the pepper. We're looking pretty good here. These are almost ready. I'm going to pull myself, let's call it, these look good. I'm going to use 3 cloves, just because it feels right. I can use a press. They want it minced, so this is my fast way to mince it, press it, garlic it. You're really just trying to get the flavor. I want to make sure that it lands kind of on top of the mushroom so that I don't burn it, because garlic burns fast. If you like the taste of burnt garlic, burn your garlic. I don't care for it burnt. I like the flavor to have a nice fragrance and aroma. So now you're going to mix it pretty quickly, and you cook and saute it until you can smell that garlic. And it takes like 30 seconds. It does not take long, especially when it's minced like that. So it's pretty quick. So it's to the point it needs to be. We're going to take and we're going to add the marinara. I'm pulling it off the heat just so it's not so direct on there. We're going to give that a nice little wine there. And all we're doing now is putting in a little bit of the oregano. Again, that's to your flavor. A pinch. That's a pinch. I mean, you just put it in there. You don't want. I mean, most of these have a little bit of flavor in them already, you know. But you're making lasagna, and you want it to have a good flavor. Now, I'm going to give you a little secret here. Do not tell my wife, but see this. This is just plain sugar. You can see it's not very much, but just by putting a little of that in there, not a lot. Again, don't go nuts. It's a little's a lot. What it does is it takes some of that acidic base out of that tomato sauce, because it can be pretty acidic, people, but a little bit of sugar tends to remove some of that. So now we're getting that heat up to the right point. I'm going to now take a little break, and when we come back, we're going to assemble everything. I'm going to turn the eggplant over so we can roast the other side, and we'll show you how all this comes together. So we'll be right back.
For a place, a people, an idea, for right and freedom, for liberty and justice for all. For every square inch between fruited plains and spacious skies. Marines fight to win. See all the battles Marines fight to win at marines.com.
Welcome back, and it's been about 25 minutes, maybe an inch longer than that, but I think our eggplant is ready to go. Oh yeah, it looks beautiful. Now when we take this out, we're going to put it up here so we can work with it. We're going to turn the oven down to 350. So this dish that we made the recipe for, sorry about that, we're only going to make it an 8 by 8, so it's more of a smaller or a half serving. If you're going to use a 9 by 13, you know, it's just the same recipe, just kind of double everything. It's only cooking. Just you can just double everything on, that'll be fine. If you want to do a smaller recipe, this helps you get through it pretty easy. If you're going to use a brown casserole dish instead of a clear glass, if you're going to use brown or metal, I'm sure you've cooked with it before and you're familiar with it, but the cooking properties are going to be different with that. So just keep that in mind when you do that. So now we're ready to assemble. This is pretty easy, but it's a little different than your normal lasagna when you're using noodles, because you can get a lot of layers with the noodles. Clearly this, even though they have gotten smaller, if you look at a close-up of that, they've gotten smaller and thinner, they're still going to take up a lot of the dish, and you're only going to really have 2 layers of the eggplant. So the first thing that we do is we want to get a layer of sauce. Mushroom and marinara sauce. We want to get a layer in the bottom of the dish. And you don't have to be crazy about it. Now, one of the things I'm keeping my mind out for is I want to reserve, I don't know, a ladleful. I want to reserve that for the end, because what I want to do is at the end, I want to put a pretty little swish on top of the cheese so that it looks good, and then you're going to put your fresh spices on there, and it's just going to give it a great look. So just make sure you've got some mushrooms on every little kind of bit of it here. So every bite, somebody gets a little mushroom in there. There's going to be more on the top. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to place. These are going to be hotter than the dickens. So we're going to place a piece of eggplant. And we'll pick the best one since we're making a kind of a half order. We're going to put one there. Let's see, we'll get another nice one right there. Now, here's the beauty, because what we've done, we can cut them. We are going to use a half piece to fill in these spots. Again, this isn't Michelin star we're trying to get, so it doesn't have to fit like perfect like a glove, but we want to get in there so that somebody who's eating this gets a bite of eggplant in every bite. So we're going to throw that in there. Let's flip that around so it's nice and pretty there. So there we go. For the most part, we've got eggplant covering the entire bottom. The next piece that goes on is that beautiful, beautiful ricotta cheese mixture that you made with the egg. That's the binder. And then you've got your spinach in there, and you can see how the spinach has really gotten to a point where it's where it's nice and soft in there, but not overly soft. There's a little moisture, so I had to stir it up again because we sat quite a while waiting for the eggplant to get done. We're going to place all of this beautiful cheese sauce in this middle layer. This is going to really set up and thicken up. If you have this, one of the things you don't want to do is you don't want to freeze this dish. When you freeze it, it gets to be ice crystals in there, and then when you try to reheat it and thaw it, it's pretty much a soggy mess. It doesn't hold up like a noodle lasagna would. So now we're going to take our next layer of eggplant. Let's throw those on there. Now I'd like to try to go the opposite way. I know that's doesn't mean anything, it doesn't matter, but I just think it makes it spread out a little better. So we're going to take this and cut this. Okay, we're going to throw those in there, and these are pretty hot still, so be careful. And you know what? I've got a little bit extra, so why don't I just take a piece and stick it in that corner. Now we're perfect. Now we're going to take the rest of the sauce, saving about a ladleful. Like I said, I want to save a ladleful. Now we're going to have it to save because the amount of the sauce is really the amount for a full order, so it'll be fine. We'll have plenty. And I don't want to put any mushrooms in that top part because that top part is just the pretty part. So we'll get all the mushrooms out of this, and that's about a ladle that I have left there. You can see. So we're going to use that to make the top pretty once it gets on its cooking a little bit. And okay, now we're going to spread this out. We'll spread it out like that. We're coming up to the best part of all, cheese. We all know that cheese is what makes lasagna. Now we've already got that ricotta. When that firms up, is going to be a nice cheese. It's got a lot of Parmesan in it. So there's your kind of your nutty flavor. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take, this is just basic mozzarella cheese. It's in a big block, and I found that it's better if you grind your own or shred your own. When you get it in packages from the store, you can do it. You can get it from a packaging store. It's easy. That makes it a lot easier. The problem is they put anti-caking agent in there, flour or cornmeal. They put something on it so that it in the store doesn't stick together. So you're getting that in your dish. It just doesn't melt as good. It doesn't look as pretty. Again, it's one of those things. It's just a matter of taste. I just found that since I've started doing it, it's number one, it's cheaper too. You can buy a big block of cheese. Even today, you can buy a big old block of 2 pounds of this mozzarella for about $7. We're gonna put some Parmesan, again, some fresh Parmesan. We're just gonna kind of put it over the top. This adds that nuttiness, that little bit of saltiness, and it's a good cheese to have on there. It gets good color when it gets roasted in the oven. Now, the last thing, like I said, I like to do now, I normally would do this after it's cooked for a little while, just because that way it gives it a nice thing to set on, but we'll just do it, sorry about the noise, we'll just do it right on this, and we'll just do it this way because it's kind of fun. And you just put a little, I don't know what you call it, little back and forth swirl just to make it kind of like, so it has, it's a little giveaway of what's in there, the secret that's in there that you're gonna have. So this gives a lot away, and it goes real nice with the fresh herb you're going to put on at the end. And again, you can do anything you want to do with that. So that just gives it a little back and forth there. And then you're going to, at the end, when we pull it out, we'll put some, whether it's going to be fresh basil or fresh Italian parsley rather than regular parsley, or we're going to put on there, I don't know, you can put any number of your fresh herbs, whatever you like to do. So what we got is we're going to make sure the oven is back to 350, and now that we've assembled it, it's ready to go in the oven. We're going to put it in there, and when we come back, we're going to finish off the dish with the little morsels on top, make it look pretty, and then we'll take a little slice of it, and we're going to see how it tastes. So we'll be right back. Thanks.
Canine Stray Rescue is Oxford's own local dog rescue. Call them at 248-628-0435 or go to their website dogsaver.org and click on the Canine Stray Rescue League link.
Welcome back. Well, we've had this in the oven 25, 30 minutes, and you can let it go longer because, let's face it, ovens are a little unpredictable on their temperature. But you'll know when it's ready to go because it'll look similar to this. It's been out for just a few seconds, but it's still somewhere close to the temperature of the sun, so you can't do much with it. But what we can do is we can kind of decorate up a little bit, and it won't hurt to put these on now. They may wilt a little bit, but it's just fine. We're going to eat in a few minutes anyway. So you can use a lot of different fresh herbs on it. You don't have to put any on. If you don't have any, don't put them on. But if you have them, put them on. You may want to sprinkle red pepper flakes on it. I don't know. You may want to put that in the sauce when you started. It's up to you. I mean, it's only cooking. So what I have here is a little Italian parsley. Got it out of the garden. You kind of just pull it apart and make it kind of just free-form it. It doesn't matter how it goes on. Again, it's not a Van Gogh, but it might be a Picasso. So at any rate, also a little basil. Maybe I'll just jab a little basil leaf in there. That gives it some elevation. Looks cool. I'm not gonna put any thyme on there, but thyme's a real nice subtle flavor. It's a kind of a woodsy flavor. You know, it's a comfort herb associated with foods like that. So you can do that. So we're going to let this sit for just a few minutes so that we can actually cut into it and it doesn't make too much soup when we pull it out. So we'll take a look at this and see how it looks. You get a little close-up of the side of the dish and see the many layers in there melted. And we'll get to dig in here in just a minute. I can't eat too much because this is for my wife. So let's give me about, let's say 10 minutes and then we can dig in. Okay, well, welcome back. And, last week we were here, we decorated a little bit. Didn't tell you when I got the basil, again, fresh out of the garden. You slap it, and that gives it that releases the flavor. And you don't really want to tear the leaves. You can tear the leaves, you don't want to cut the leaves. It turns them a darker color. They don't look as pretty. But anyway, this has been sitting out now for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So hopefully we can get a little bite of this, and we will get more than just a big handful of soup. So we're gonna give it a little cut here. I usually let it sit much longer, but I'm anxious to have a bite. So if it's soupy, please let it sit longer. So here we go. Let's get a little chunk of this out. It didn't get separated there. That's what I get for using a bad knife. I'm trying to use a knife that'll cut and serrate it. Serrated knife. Okay, here we go. I think we got it. Stuck to the side a little. There we go. Now we're cooking. There we go. Not too bad. It's still a little soupy, but it'll set up over a little time. Okay, so there we go. We've got a little slice that you can still see. It's not quite as hot as the sun. It's just nuclear hot right now. For the good of the outfit here, we're going to try a taste of it. We're going to give up. I'm going to make the sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice of my mouth. So let's see how we got here. We'll get a little of that eggplant in there. We'll get a little of the ricotta, a little of the cheese on top. I'm going to try and mix a little bit of everything. So you can watch this here, and hopefully get my hand out of the way. So let's see. Oh my. That looks like the roof of my mouth in a minute. Okay. Well, thank you again for coming along with It's Only Cooking, and like I like to say, now it's only eating. Not a big eggplant guy, and that's delicious. I'm gonna have another bite. That is delicious. That's very good. I'll try it again. Thanks again for joining It's Only Cooking. We'll see you next time.